Bugs! Everyone knows that games were so much better in the olden days when they had to put them in retail packages to go in shops because they had to get it right first time, and you know where this is going immediately. It's First Encounters, the notorious buggiest game ever released, or at least that was the assessment of it sometime in the late 90s. And this made me wonder, how bad is it? Were standards so much higher back in those early days that this is probably actually okay by modern standards? Or is it genuinely an unplayably buggy game? Well, the first hint is this little corner of the box which says remastered version. Because this game was so infamously buggy that Game Tech had to hurriedly release patches, and then, because the reputation was so tarnished, produced this remastered version and put out adverts in the very same gaming magazines which had carried news articles about how bad the game was, telling people, hey, it's okay now, we've squished the bugs. I don't know why I turned the box to do the bug squishing advert. I don't have a bug here, and it made a load of horrible floppy disk noise. So talking floppy disks, there is the first challenge. So I wanted to buy a version, and the remastered version is pretty much the most common by far. And on opening it, I was half expecting some disks and a patch disk, and no, I just have 3 of these. And that makes sense, right? If you were producing a floppy disk game, you just ran the floppy disks through the disk duplicator with the updated version. But this left me with a problem of I didn't want to play the patched version, because I spent a lot of years playing the patched version, and it is, barring a few oddities, mostly okay. I wanted the original. I wanted the raw dogging of, that's a bad start, isn't it? I wanted the pure experience of someone getting an original release to manufacturing Frontier First Encounters. And I thought, okay, if my floppy disks are updated, I bet a CD isn't, because the CDs would have gone to a CD pressing plant back when the game was version 1.0, and so most of the CD copies that I saw did indeed have a CD and a patch disk saying, please run this disk before you start the game, otherwise you're going to have a horrifically bad time. Long story short, this is my CD version, and it's version 1.00. So what am I going to do with this? Well, I'm going to try to play through the sort of semi-optimal game start where you do a couple of the missions and a couple of the scripted events, and sort of wind your way over towards the Sol system and start making money smuggling and start joining the federal military. You know, the sort of a classic Frontier First Encounters game start. And I want to see, like, how bad is it? Is this really unplayable? And there was a bug that some people encountered with some sound cards where you can't even fire a laser without the game crashing, but I'm hoping for better than that. But let's dive into Frontier First Encounters version 1.00 and see, how bad was the buggiest game ever released? Statement valid as of 1996. Your home may be at risk if you do not go back. To be honest, this home is at risk of collapse at any moment, whether or not I pay the mortgage on it. Let's go play the game. Okay, it started up. There's no horrible palette flashing. It's sort of working. Hooray. Let's give this a go. Probably Chris Sawyer. It's Chris Sawyer's fault. Let's get into this.
Come in. The software's down, so things may be a bit slow for a while. Just be patient. It'll be fine.
Well, there we go. I think that's probably about the best way to describe the attitude needed here. Let's just be patient. I began the game by selling all of my ship's standard equipment, because I wanted to take advantage of a scripted event that runs for the first couple of months of the game, where if you take medicines to Saholia, you can sell them on the bulletin board for a massive profit, and selling my equipment would maximise my cargo space and maximise the amount of money I had to buy those essential medicines, although at this very early stage of the game I still couldn't entirely fill my ship. However, I could buy other goods which would sell for a profit in other systems. Before I went to distribute medicines to the needy, I wanted to start one of the game's scripted missions which would give me a small bonus and also get my name in the newspapers. Old Curie was conveniently in the system I was already in. It's almost as if this was by design to ease you into the game's scripted events and missions. And so far, Frontier First Encounters had not been unplayable. It was working largely okay, although I was about to take advantage of one of the game's long-standing bugs which persisted even into the 1.06 release, the autopilot's ability to just casually ignore planets. And indeed, all laws of physics when set to maximum time acceleration, a thing which is very useful for making your entry into systems much quicker than it is supposed to be. All the better for enjoying those slightly shonky CD-ROM videos.
Enjoy your stay, Commander.
Welcome to the relay. What more could you ask for?
A bug-free game, perhaps? Okay, that was a bit of a cheap shot. Let's accept this Wiccanware race and see how that goes. At first, along the way, I want to stop off at Saholia to drop off some medicines, and we're treated to the classic Elite docking sequence, obviously a reference back to Kubrick's 2001. I don't think I really need to say that. I think that's one of those universal things which everybody knows. And hidden deep in the bulletin boards of Saholia, I can find this little message which will make me a lot of money and allow me to buy an upgrade ship very soon, as I've done dozens of times before playing this game. And I don't really want to say foreshadowing at this early point, but foreshadowing. Another jump and a little magic of editing later, and I was descending toward Wickersworld, a reference to a 1970s British travel programme. You know, in amongst the real names of galaxies and the procedurally generated ones, there are a few little references to British culture. More importantly, I had won the Wiccanware race, and I earned a bit more money than I was expecting to. This turned out to be a benign bug in the version that I was playing, where you are awarded more money for completing missions than you should be if you have a good reputation.
Not you again. Look, we're still dealing with the lawsuits from the last time you came. Just refuel and leave, will you?
No time to stop and enjoy the glory though, as I needed to load up my ship with medicines and get back to the disease-stricken worlds of Saholia. And this was a problem because I was entering a system in which pirates could attack me with no weapons, and therefore was entering the phase of this early game playthrough that could be loosely described as epic save scumming. And so it begins. Let's reload. Everybody loves this playthrough. This is... Come on, third time lucky. Not third time lucky. Okay, let's go a little bit further away. Taking heed of the possible superstition and possible actual game mechanic that if you jump too close to a station, pirates will follow you, turned out to be the charm, and I was on my way to making a medicine drop-off. Well, thankfully the autopilot rescued me just in time as I shot past the station. Hooray for the ability to completely defy physics.
Not you again.
And so my game continued in this fashion. Medicines to Saholia, and robots out to an agricultural world that would pay a lot of money for them, with a lot of save scumming in between. Eventually, I reached a point where I was looking for two things. Someone to pay me a lot of money for robots, and a new ship to buy with the proceeds. Yes. Oh, I found it. Thank you, RNG. Right, let's go and sell all the things that I won't get money back for.
Welcome.
That's not good. I think we might have discovered some bugs. Damn, I should have saved that. I was there and now I'm not. So, yeah, that's the first kind of show-stopping bug I found, which was annoying because I had damn near perfect RNG on that particular jump. Well, let's try again and see if that's... I really hope that's not a consistent bug. That's going to be a problem if it is. Well, I hate to say foreshadowing, but before we get to that point, I had to go back and redo a whole load of gameplay, in which I would discover yet another First Encounters oddity. What just happened? No! No! Okay, so it just reset me back at the station. This again. At this point, I was starting to feel like the whole ship thing was just punishment for my save scumming ways. Oh god, I had the perfect save! 45 minutes of this nonsense later, I was finally back at the point where I was. Well, at least I saved this time. So, this appears to be a consistent problem, and I'm not exactly sure whether I will be allowed to buy a ship. Oh, okay, so yeah, buggiest game of all time. I'm starting to feel it. Yes, I got very quickly used to this, and inevitably this, and of course this. But I did start to think, okay, maybe it's just a problem with the Viper Mark II. Maybe I'm just being really unlucky with that one ship, and if I try another, it will be fine. Don't make me say the F word. Can I buy any ship? I don't want to look. I can see in the camera reflection that I'm not going to be allowed to buy a ship. Is it just that shipyard? Or is it all shipyards? Allow me to condense about an hour of gameplay thus. Am I allowed to buy an adder? Right, so I can't change ship. That kind of ruins the early game playthrough, doesn't it? I had run into a problem, because the core gameplay loop of Frontier First Encounters is you make some money, you upgrade your ship, and then you use that upgraded ship to do more things and make more money. If my upgraded ship was a crash to the DOS prompt, I was not really going to be doing much of anything. But never mind, I thought. I will take my existing ship and I will outfit it to become more of a courier who can go into these pirate-infested systems, defend himself, and deliver packages and things for the federal military. And I immediately ran into a problem with that whole upgrade your ship part of the gameplay loop. My basic Mark III fighter simply didn't have enough room to mount the equipment I needed, and this was a bigger problem for me, given how inept I am at combat in all games which feature it. I'm hopeless at this. Yes! Ha ha! Yes, this goes on for a long time. A very long time. Look, people will keep putting combat in video games. Oh yeah. Okay, we can still have some fun. Yes, some fun. Until I ran into one of First Encounter's mini fun features / bugs, because I'm not sure which. The busy space station. This might not have been too much a problem, except this is the only station in the solar system. And yeah, you might say feature not bug, but it is something that was toned down a little bit in later versions because of how often this used to happen. Feature or not, it's infuriating. Like I've not been infuriated enough. Well, thankfully 24 hours was enough for me to make a brief fuel stop before continuing with my bug-enforced mission to get to federal space and join the federal military.
Welcome, Commander. Make the most of your visit to federal territory.
Oh, I will, because all I need to do here is go to the bulletin board, find the military contact, and accept a simple delivery mission to start my career. Would you like to know about the bug that I appear to have just found? Which is that none of the military boards, in at least Federation space, possibly all space, have any low-ranking delivery missions. In fact, a lot of them just don't have any missions at all. I don't want to say that I went around every federal system I could find checking the bulletin board only to find it had no missions, or at least none that I could take, mainly because that's exactly what I did do, and that's quite a lot of my life that I'm not going to get back. So about 18 minutes in, you might start thinking, yeah, you've made your point. This was quite bad. But then, thinking kind of the same thing, many hours in, I was still encountering new and weird bugs, like this one. The world's shyest pirate, who would never get quite close enough for my meagre weapons and my even more meagre combat skills to be able to blast him out of space. So, what did I end up having to do? Go through 24 astronomical units of space travel with my finger held down on the fast forward time button, because that was the only option available. I mean, that's a way to play the game. Eventually, the inevitable thing that happens to a man with zero combat skill whatsoever inevitably happened. Unfortunately, I had also forgotten to save early, save often. Oh, that was a good start. When did I last save? Don't think I've saved in a while. Yeah. Anyone with any sense would have given up long before this point, but no, I went back into it with the fervour of someone trying to extract value from a game they had paid £40 of 1995 money for. And it went about as well as you can expect. Oh joy, that bug that you can fire your laser. in the storm. Why is my laser firing? Please stop that. Right, okay, fine. What's going on? This sounds bad. Why am I being attacked? Let's just try to boost out of here before we get into trouble. Jeez. This is not going well. Yay. I just... it was like a series of bugs there. Oh, so bug 1 was the game just started firing randomly, and then bug 2 was that, no, well, even if you pay your fine, the police are still going to kill you. I attempted to press on. We're into sheer bloody-mindedness by this stage, but it was becoming clear my lack of ability to upgrade my ship or mount any useful equipment to it was becoming more of a burden than I could deal with. I got nothing to do with missiles. Don't need an ECM system. Yes, point about combat skills still applies. Can I outfly it? No. And eventually, sheer desperation got the better of me. I think we know what's coming. Yeah. I'm not going to say literally unplayable, because that's kind of an abuse of the word literally, but what I've got is kind of little more than a demo, right? I can't go trading because I can't upgrade my ship. The game just crashes. I can't go and join the military because the game won't give me any military missions. And kind of even trying to be a courier, I rapidly run into the fact that base ship just can't mount decent weapons on it, so I can't really do that either. I can't put a drive in it which gives me decent range to play the story missions. Like the story missions, the thing which are infamously broken even in the later patch versions, I can't even get that far. So yeah, I think compared to some modern games which have got the inevitable Steam review bombing for this is broken and buggy, this is worse. This is absolutely, it's way worse. Like, I've happily played through games which people go, this is too buggy to be released, and they've been fine. This was not fine. Frontier First Encounters 1.0 was not fine. So yeah. So the question is, like, what happened next? So, and this is, don't forget, this is in a point where you probably don't have an internet connection at home. So if you're lucky, you have a CD-ROM drive, and a PC Magazine might put a patch on their cover disc. I've looked at a couple of CDs from the time and haven't found one. That's not great. Or you just write into GameTech and say, hey, this broken game that you sold me for £40 back in a time when money was actually worth something, can you fix it? And yeah, they'd mail you out a patch disc. So in terms of those patch discs, what do we have? Well, there's a patch disc 1.01, which would fix my ship changing bug. That's unique to the CD version, and not much else. And also would increase the memory requirements of the game to 8 megabytes. So the first patch breaks things which were working. There's then 1.02, which drops you back down and says, no, now you can play it on your 4 megabyte machine again. hooray, apparently would fix my military bug with getting into the federal military. There's then a couple of patches which never even saw the light of day outside of game tech. And then finally we have 1.05, and this by far seems to be the most common patch that's out there. That's not the the 1.06 version, which eventually most people ended up playing. So I'm gonna give that a try. I love that message. I mean, I did have many enjoyable hours, so fair enough. Fair enough. So, you know when you see like images of people writing, "This patch is a joke," on the discs, I kind of get why. You'd be supremely pissed off if you just spent ages getting a disc, like mail order as well. You've got to wait for someone to send this out to you, for it to be posted, and finally it arrives. And that's the result. That's where we go with that. That's as far as we get. It's broken. To anyone still in possession of whatever senses they had when they set out on this foolish mission, this really should have been the end. But no. I went back searching through Internet Archive and whatever sites I could find to see if I could find a working version of the patch. We're in business. We're back in business. Version 1.05. So yeah, I found another patch installer which crashed when it exited. Well done, but it seems to have successfully installed the patch. I'm finally there, but imagine like how horrible an experience this would have been back in the day, with the sort of delay between getting patch discs and the fact that you had to know a fair bit of your way round DOS to recover the patches breaking your installation. Fine. The game is patched. Let's attempt to enjoy my newly patched game, which I can now play. I wasted no time in returning to something that I had never previously thought would be a nemesis. A button saying bye. Yes! I don't think I've ever been so pleased to have something that should just work. With a new ship acquired, it was straight back to save scumming the medicines route. And, well, it turns out that some things just never change. Including, it would seem, the game's inability to count robots. Unfortunately, I still couldn't sell more than 36. But between selling robots at an inflated price in one direction and medicines in the other, I was soon behind the wheel of my very own Asp Explorer. Is behind the wheel the right term with a spaceship? What is it? I guess it's more of a flight yoke, isn't it? That's a tangent we don't need at this point. Whatever the control method, and you'd better hope it's not a joystick, because FFE's joystick routines are so notoriously terrible that even in later patch notes, GameTech tell you, look, just use a mouse. I was free to travel the galaxy, to pollute the galaxy. It's fine, nobody saw that. I was free to suck at combat, to suck at combat some more, to run away from combat because I'm well aware that I suck at it and shouldn't go anywhere near it. I was able to fulfill my lifelong dream of acting as effectively a postman for the federal military. And finally, against all odds, I defeated a pirate and then encountered a still unfixed bug where you don't get the bounty for pirates that you kill. Never mind. I consoled myself by reading a newspaper which had been carefully calculated to outrage me. Even in the far future, some things are still the same. So yeah, 1.05, it kind of mostly works. There's a few bugs still remaining, but at least it's not game breaking. And that's the Frontier first encounters that I really remember. You know, yes, it was buggy, and I mean, I haven't really got into the scripted missions where even 1.06, they are really buggy. But in terms of being able to like basically enjoy an elite style experience, you know, they sort of got there. Possibly. I maybe harder if you had tricky hardware or anything, because yeah, this really does not play nicely with a lot of stuff. But yeah, what's the conclusion there? Well, this was bad. This went out on shop shelves as almost unplayable. If you'd bought the CD version, you really could not get beyond the very start of the game, and you'd just be stuck in like a useless ship, not able to do anything. But on the other hand, compared to some modern games which come out in a buggy state and just get abandoned, at least this was fixed. For certain values are fixed. People may disagree on that, but it attained some level of playability. And you know, there's a nice little message in the README file for the patch about how very, very sorry everyone is for all that had happened here. Could do a few more of those.